School Daze Parts 1 and 2, written by Mike Vogel and Nicole Dubik respectively, is the premiere to the divisive season that is Season 8. Well, I'm assuming it's divisive because, in my mind, it is very much divisive. As you can tell, I'm not the biggest fan of Season 8 so far. I think it is the worst season that we've had in the entirety of MLP, but that's besides the point. I think the best part about this episode is definitely the title, which is a reference to School Daze by the amazing Chuck Berry. I recommend the song, it is fantastic. So the plot of this episode is that Twilight and Co. open a school of friendship because no one besides ponies knows anything about camaraderie or being a decent being. The very first scene of this episode is a good representation of what the entirety of this episode is focused on. The scene only exists to remind you that the movie exists and you should definitely watch it. It's an advertisement within an advertisement, I don't like the movie, but that is definitely besides the point, but the very fact that they do this is very evident of where their minds are. This episode and the school theme and all that only exists to establish the colorful school and the colorful new characters that will be made into shiny new toys that you can purchase at your local store or toy store or whatever store. These new designs are specifically made with the sole intent of making money. Just look at these new characters and then here, take a look at the older designs. Very, very evident. Not to mention that the school structure is incredibly out of place in the setting like Ponyville, as is Twilight's Castle, which I also really don't like being there. Regarding the whole school thing or theme, the main six are obviously the teachers, which makes absolutely no freaking sense at all. Twilight is the only one out of the main six that I feel is actually capable of being a teacher. We've seen this in episodes before, like Twilight Time and other such episodes, and she's also been a mentor to Starlight. And I'm completely fine with the idea of Twilight becoming a teacher. I think it's quite a natural progression in her character arc. But why build a completely different structure, waste good taxpayer money, which I'm assuming that's how they built it, and ruin such a beautiful setting like Ponyville even further? When Twilight has a humongous, perfectly usable palace, she could have been doing her teaching in the whole time. And as previously mentioned, the whole reason the school even exists is because the other creatures don't understand friendship. Ponies are the only beings that do. The entire premise of this episode partially proves the antagonist's thoughts. Not to mention, Neisei was again partially right when he said this.
This is for the greater good. The school was disorganized, the teachers unqualified, and those dangerous and unpredictable students put ponies' lives in danger.
I also really like Maurice LaMarche as Chancellor Neisei. The man is a legend, and I swear he can do no wrong, even in an episode like this. And I also see where the character of Neisei is coming from. He's made out to be some bigoted racist, and that's partially true, but for the most part, he has a point. Twilight should have been more thorough in her explanations, and yes, the teachers appointed are criminally unqualified for the job, and everything he saw concerning the school has been a total shit show. From ponies' lives being at stake to property damage of the school to a completely disorganized educational system. I'm not defending his disregard towards other races, but I'm just simply stating that he has a pretty good reason, besides the bigotry, to do what he does. To put it simply, the plot of this premiere is contrived and messy at best. I'm not against the ideas presented, I'm actually very much for some of the ideas presented, but I am against poor execution of said ideas. I can definitely see what the writers are going for with the story, but I'm afraid it's just not a cohesive or well-constructed narrative. It's definitely not awful in terms of a children's show, but it needed some heavy reworking. I expect a script like this to be a first draft, not a finished, full-fledged episode. And just to reassure you, yes, I do love MLP, I love ponies, of course, and I am semi-harshly criticizing this particular episode because I know it could have been much, much better. The ideas presented were good for the most part, but, bad writing or studio interference, whatever the case may be, it ended up like this, unfortunately. I hope you can see where I'm coming from with this, and definitely be sure to take everything I said with a grain of salt, for these are just my opinions. I must stress that. These are just my opinions. And with all that being said, I wish you farewell, and until next time, long live rock and roll.
Long live rock and roll. The beat of the drums loud and bold. Rock, rock, rock and roll. The feeling is there, body and soul.